Well, thank you so much for helping with my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
All right, so my name is Dr. Aidyl Gonzalez. I am of Puerto Rican descent. They usually call me a New Yorican. And I have my doctorate in molecular genetics, developmental biology from Caltech, postdoc, did the whole shebang, but I also do education. I actually am an educator for over 15 years from K to 12 and beyond. So that's just a little snippet of what I do.
That's amazing. I didn't quite catch that about the New Rican. Is that because
New
you live in New
Yorican.
York now, or?
No, so my whole family's from Puerto Rico, but I happen to be born in New York. So I was raised in New York. I'm actually currently in Los Angeles now because I do stuff. And so transplants from Puerto Rico to New York and they are raised there. We are just called New Yorkers.
New Rican.
It's
Okay.
New Yorkers, yeah. So we have a particular accent that I haven't lost yet. I don't want to lose it anyway.
Well, at least you can explain your accent. I have an accent. I can't explain it at all. People always ask me where I'm from, and I have no clue. I mean, I'm from here in Houston, but anyway,
Cool.
whatever. um, well, what got you into science education?
Oh, well, science and science education. I still do research. So it all started with a cockroach. So I grew up in the South Bronx, and unfortunately, the landlord was a slumlord and guest laid those bombs, those bug bombs. And I remember my sister, my brother, and I stayed in one room. And I noticed a cockroach underneath the windowsill. And it laid something. I may be like 6, 7, 8 years old then. It's really cold. It was during school times, like fall, winter season. Then could tell you how old I am. I actually had a Tom McCann box and I covered it up. And every day I kept on checking on what are those little wormy things that the cockroach laid. It ends up like about 2 weeks or something like that. Those 3 or 4 wormy things, 7 cockroaches from each of those popped out. But what
Wow.
was intriguing is that when I saw it in mid-process hatching out, they were white, very pale looking roaches, little miniature roaches. But over time, they darken up because of the oxygenation. They get their color, the chitin starts to develop their own characteristics. And well, I didn't know that then, but when I was little, I'm like, mommy, guess what? Guess what? Did you know that cockroaches actually end up like worms? And then all of a sudden those worms become 7 things. And she's like, how did you know that? And I'm like, because I have a family in the corner. Okay, and my mom like, what the heck? Bam, got the raid, but that's what intrigued my science interest of that change over time, as well as Star Trek with Nichelle Nichols, because she looked like one of my aunts. And she multilingual. I thought at the time she was Afro Latina. And I'm like, oh my God, look at another Puerto Rican in the screen. She spoke, she knew science, she's an astronaut, and she knew how to fight. And I'm like, I want to do that. And I want to understand how life changes over time and why people are, all animals and plants have characteristics, but in space. And that's where all my science became a reality for me.
That's an amazing story. I think back, like, a lot of like scientists and innovators, they talk about like, kind of like the first question that got them started. And it's neat that you know yours because I think a lot of people maybe forget it. But um, I guess, what do you think it would take for more kids to have moments like that? Like, what keeps other people from asking that type of question?
But that question is really important, is for students to, or for children or anyone to become interested in STEM and see themselves in STEM. It depends on how they were first encountering it. And when I ask, when I mentor teachers or when I work with scientists and engineers, when they want to bring internships over, I'm like, remember what was your first experience in STEM, in science? Was it good? Was it bad? Or was it eh? And you actually see, if you look at like my generation, one of the more reasons that there are more representation in science is because of the first entry. If you come from a good school, if you're affluent, or had that opportunity given, you'll be like, I remember my day. This is why I know STEM is for me. Well, other occasion, especially I came from the inner city, and I know that I knew science was for me, but when I went to my educators, my teachers, it's like, well, that's not for you. That's not for people like you. So one thing I like to say is opportunities, educate the educators on how to be inclusive in the classroom and the importance of STEM in the classroom, and not just looking at the book and say, hey, look at this, but actually participate. Students can actually participate in ongoing research to better humanity. They could do citizen science work, or they could actually ask questions and develop. Educators, I call out and say, now our generation, the next generation coming up, space is going to be a commonplace. It's going to be as regular for us to be in an airplane. It's going to be as regular for them to be out of this planet. And we want to make sure that they see themselves and they have a place at that table to go to space and pursue whatever career they desire and achieve. Yeah, I hope I answered your question completely.
Yeah, no, that's great. No, I definitely think it's important for people to feel like they could become anything, and that there's not any doors that are arbitrarily closed for people. But back with you and the cockroach, right? The you were only interested in the answer to the question, figuring out for yourself, and finding it out through observation. And what I've seen about science as like my kid's been exposed to it, and just kind of like how it is in the world that I am, unlike in your situation where it was about the question, it always seems to be about the project or the paper or the report or the class, and the question is actually secondary. And I feel like that fundamentally is the thing that will hold us back from progressing to the next step, is that um, like the question hasn't really captivated us, our children, enough, and it's all these other things around the question that seems to be occupying their time and interest.
I hear your words. I just happened to give a half-day workshop with my team on how to cultivate the next generation of world changers in STEM. And I like to say STEAM because the arts and the humanity component, knowing that we're going to be not only on this planet, but we're going to space for Earth, like UNUSA says, and mission statement. And what can we do to really prepare? And one of the structures that I mentor educators about is whenever you approach a STEM topic or a student has, I want to inquire and observe about this, add the humanity questions behind it. How does it affect you as the student? How does it affect your family? How does it affect the community? How does it affect? So you can see that interconnectivity, and there's the humanity and the future of humanity, I should say. Because I remember I was reading the questions that you were thinking about posing, and when you wrote the question, how do you see future of humanity? I see and I hope at the same time that we will not be seeing each other as us versus them, but more of a we're humans from Earth, instead of, oh, you're Puerto Rican, no, you're from South Africa, oh, that compartmentalized and trying to out compete each other or marginalize. There's no marginalization, and that's my dream, my hope, and I do see that for humanity in the future as we explore outward. And I want to make sure it's exploration outward and learning from our history when we as being on this planet, that we're not going to be colonizing. So I want to just bring again that humanity behind it.
Yeah, I guess if you were to choose a different word besides colonizing, what do you think the right word is?
exploration, that as a scientist is we're exploring, we're answering questions. What else is out there? And if you go really down to the molecular level, we're only 4 molecules, right? We're sugars, we're nucleic acid, DNA, RNA, we're fats, and we're proteins. And if you go down to the elemental level, we're just carbon. And what else is out there that recipe allowed life to come about? And I love teaching life in biology and connecting it with physics and chemistry, and also in our research projects. And I'm like, we have carbon, and our friendly neighborhood autotrophs, our plants, are able to utilize the element carbon, or inorganic carbon, carbon dioxide, that we can't utilize. That's not life yet, or organic molecules. But plants, there's a particular enzyme in there called rubisco, which is really cool, that can actually add the hydrogens onto carbon dioxide. Now there's sugar. That's our foundation as heterotroph. I mean, it's just like those little 3 elements together, and depending on how you, the ratios, you make sugar, you make protein, you make fats. I mean, and having that concept, as we explore outward, finding other connections like that, I think it's amazing. I mean, this is what life means is, right? To grow, to explore, to connect, and see what else can we do as a community. And now our community is getting larger. So
You
yeah,
know,
you can see I
definitely.
love STEM. I love science.
That's cool. Yeah, I did have some questions I wanted to ask you. I guess first of all, did you know that NASA is planning to send astronauts back to the moon?
Yes, and I'm so excited. And I'm hoping that Jessica Watkins will be one of them.
Oh, tell me more about that.
Oh, so Jessica Watkins just completed a 6 months mission at the ISS. So she's a geologist from Caltech, and I'm a graduate from Caltech. So I'm like, yay. And to have and learning her history, she worked on the Mars rover, which was my husband, I guess, and her worked not together, but on the same projects. And just knowing her story, her representation, her brilliance, and her love of geology, and that her next step, the next female to go up and put, boot to the moon, will be Jessica, someone that is remarkable, inspiring. There's a connection, so I can say, yeah, we came from the same school. That's why it's all good coming out of that. All the astronauts being selected, of course, would be amazing, but I have like a personal connection.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, Jessica, everything I've seen about her is wonderful. So it's really exciting. I remember they had like this interview that they gave after the astronaut got selected for, being an astronaut candidate, and the question was, what 2 things would you take to Mars? And you know what she said?
Oh, I don't remember. What is it?
Matt Damon and a lot of ketchup.
Oh, dip. Oh my God, that's right. Oh yeah. Oh, look at her. That's right. Well, thank you for that. And I completely forgot about that. I was just so, yeah.
Yeah.
But the ketchup, I wonder why.
Well, because he ran out of ketchup, on The Martian, he made all these potatoes and you're just eating potatoes.
Oh, I get it. You see, I'm a little slow today because it's like 7 in the morning here.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
So what do you think about us? I mean, what do you think about us going back to the moon? I know some people are like, we have problems here on Earth, we should solve those, or why are we going to the moon again? Because we've been there before, and other people are really excited about it. How do you think about it?
I'm so excited about it. And the reason why, I understand individuals saying, oh, we should focus on Earth. Why? But I'm like, we've been focusing on Earth and trying to look at different methodologies and interventions and remediations to address global situations, global challenges, human, environmental, weather patterns. And sometimes you need to take a step back. And we have, a satellite right there that we can land on. And maybe we will see something that was not seen before as scientists. That's one reason. Utilize all aspects that we have to help us. Another is to go back to the moon and create a station there to explore. Or first, I guess we're going to land first on Mars. How amazing is that? That's human ingenuity. That's why I'm excited and I am promoting the exploration to space, especially developing some type of moon station as we begin through this Artemis journey. It's going to be remarkable. And I do believe that there's going to be new data, new perspectives, new aha moments that will benefit humanity here on Earth. And that's what I'm excited about.
Are there some particular aha moments that you have that come to mind from previous explorations that you're like, if we didn't find out this because we explored, then life would be so much different?
The aha moment that is recent, is the components of water. Seeing water in certain places, as well as learning that certain elements, so the periodic table, there's the earthbound elements and the non-earth elements, and you see it in certain percentages, either on the moon or some a comet that is passing by. Those aha moments saying that we are part, we can, como se dice, we're not in isolation. We were created beyond this planet. There was panspermiation that's hit this planet, and there's evidence of that. There's, star material, as Dr. Tyson says. Those aha moments. Let me go back to water. Water is so important to sustain carbon life forms. And those two elements, 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen, that can be found out there is giving us clues. This aha moment is giving us as humanity clues that, wait, we can sustain ourselves out there because we need H2O for these particular reasons, besides hydrating because we're aqueous. But if we have plants, we could bring our autotrophic friends up there. They can actually utilize the water, zap it into pieces, right? Photosystem 2. And that water would become oxygen that we use to breathe. And then our carbon dioxide, we could be utilized for the plants, and the plants also utilize oxygen as well for the mitochondria. But that's the side of, but it's those clues that, hey, there's potential that there's clues that we can go up there and explore and be better. That's my hope. So that's my ahas, those waters and those elements found on celestial bodies that seem, there's evidence that they see this planet. So those are the ahas, that we cannot be thinking just singularly in this planet, but we should be thinking more broadly.
That sounds good. Now you started talking about kind of like some visions you had of the future. But I was wondering, like whenever you think about like 200 years from now, are we still only on the Earth making these little exploration trips to places? Or do you think humanity has actually expanded beyond the Earth and we actually have people living their entire lives in other places besides the Earth?
Well, we kind of started that, right? Since the late 90s, early 2000s, there's always been a human or humans living out of this planet. So yeah, and that's 30 years ago, almost going to hit 40. Yes, I really believe, I would be surprised if we not have individuals from this planet living and even having at least one generation, either on a moon base or a starship. I don't know if in 200 years we will find another habitable planet or if there's other life. But I can definitely say that humans will expand within our solar system.
That'd be amazing. Do you think you'll see some of that in your lifetime?
I hope so. I am so fortunate that I have friends and colleagues of mine that went up. So I am a part of the International Institute of Astronautical Sciences. I'm also a director of outreach of this program, Project Possum. And I went through this program with Cyan Proctor, Katya. We have all these individuals who already went to space. So I'm like, I feel like I'm hoping and that maybe I'm a breath away. Because I put in my name, I applied to become an astronaut, I applied for other opportunities to go to space because I really do want to bring my animals. So one of my own personal research projects that I currently do is Alzheimer's, and my mom passed with it. My sister has been early diagnosed. There's a lot of family members, and I have I love my worms, especially nematodes, particular strain Seniorabditis elegans, and there's a particular strain that exhibits certain behaviors of Alzheimer's. And I'm wondering, and I developed a TED package. I sent it out to Polaris Dawn. They said next time. I'm actually taking my research project to do parabolic flights to see if, again, think beyond what this Earth provides and what access we have. Maybe microgravity can be used as a tool for treatment, or at least to delay the onset of these neurodegenerative properties. And maybe the medicines and the treatments that we have here on Earth maybe will be more effective in microgravity. And maybe there are certain genes that will be turned on or off that have not been seen since everything that have been analyzed we've been on this planet. I know they're currently doing certain neurological research up on the ISS, and that is my ultimate goal. And I've been putting it out there for the past 10 years to perform research that is beneficial to not only to the individual who's afflicted with dementia, but the family itself. It's a family disease because you have two deaths, the death of the personality of the person you love, and then the body. So it's really traumatic. And maybe I'm romanticizing this, but I always wanted to be looking out of the copula, looking at my worms, seeing that this treatment or another new aha, oh my gosh, this could be a new way to delay or maybe stop this horrible disease, while looking at the plan and saying, hey, I think I can help. And, because the pain of seeing your loved one just go away is scary and sad and helpless. And I don't want to feel helpless. And that's why I'm very fortunate as a scientist and an educator, and I'm extremely healthy, and that the opportunities for, citizen scientists to go up, I will take it in a second.
That is amazing. And so you would definitely take a trip to orbit. Would you consider taking a trip to the moon?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And why? Because I would love to, I don't know if anybody's done it yet. No, they haven't. Really take a good soil sample to see, because I'm a scientist. And I'm proud to say that. So I have this citizen science project called Soil Science, and I'm wondering if the soil on the moon, are we able to extract anything? That would be kind of cool because we do it here on this planet. So this project, with the collaboration of Folderscope, and I wonder if I have it here. No, I don't have my Folderscope sample here. But students and educators, anyone who's interested in helping our planet and collaborating, they can actually take soil and extract it, test the soil quality, look at the atmospheric qualities as well, and see if you could extract worms and what kind of worms are present. And these worms are about 1 millimeter long. There are beneficial nematodes, there's detrimental nematodes, and you could actually take a health test by looking at the soil quality and seeing what we could do on this planet to make it better, or maybe it is getting better, yay. And just to compare it to what's happening on Earth, to see, I mean, on Earth, listen to me, on the moon. You can see I'm already thinking about the moon. Yeah, those are the first things I will do.
If a settlement or city was established on Mars in your lifetime, and you had the opportunity to go and become a member of that city, would you consider going that far?
Maybe not. And there's one reason why. I want to see my great grandchildren and maybe inspire them to go further than I have. Yeah, I want to honor my family, my parents, my ancestors, and just finish up the story of helping this planet by going to a certain extent to outer space, and my reasoning why. I will be fulfilled there, and I feel like I made my mission, fulfill my mission. But to Mars, I mean, that'd be cool if I'm young enough and able to go there, but I think that's for the next generation, because there was hoping that my generations and the generation before us removed as many obstacles, so the next generation can focus on their passions and not worry about injustices that will be forming barriers. So having diversity in every aspect of humanity, from culture, from lifestyles to whatever, how much innovation can result moving forward be on Mars. And I really think that's the next generation, from millennials onward.
So Mars is very cold. It has a very thin atmosphere. You're a scientist working with very, you know, uh, life forms that are known to like transform environments and keep them healthy. What are your thoughts about us genetically engineering microbes specifically to be sent to Mars to make it suitable for humans?
Wow, let me tell you stories. Well, we, through perseverance, through the technology of MOXIE, taking CO2, using electrolysis, zapping it, and extract oxygen. Okay, we know heterotrophs, like humans, are able to live for 10 minutes. Okay, fantastic. And just to have MOXIE present on that robot, that particular science had to be done, there is an acknowledgement. And the words, are we colonizing or explorers? And in order to respect the planet, and that we're being respectful as scientists to see if we can sustain ourselves, but do not alter what Mars is, because we don't know everything yet, there's got to be discussions. Even though we can't do something, should we? And that's ethics. Your words of, can we take, genetically engineer a microbe and terrestrialize, no, I shouldn't, well, try to terrestrialize the Martian soil to make it Earth-like? That's a question. I have students right now that were able to make the MMS, so Martian, so it's Mojave Martian Simulant 1 and Martian Mojave Simulant 2, so the Mars soil simulants. And we took nematodes, and we were able to toil the soil enough that we were able to grow. I know this was published with tomatoes, but we did it first because we did it with our Arabidopsis plants, and it was working. We were able to do it, but then we stopped. I'm like, yes, we can, but should we? And if we are going to do it, because as we explore further, how can do it responsibly and learn from our history, as in the United States or from whatever country you come from. Who are we displacing individuals, or are we going to be working in collaboration? So yes, we can. Should we, if we do it responsibly? But if we alter the planet because we are doing these type of changes to make it suitable for us, no, I don't think we should do that. I think we'll be repeating the same mistakes that we have repeated, hundreds of years back.
Which do you think would be better? A universe teeming with life or a universe as we see it?
Oh, a universe teeming with life. Just to see other life thought processes, how we are similar in like family, of how, is there an equivalent mama bear? If someone messes around with your children, is there an equivalent? Because we see it on this planet, right? And just to see it like that, let's say it's just primitive life forms, as we identify as primitive life forms. How do they, what is their life? We have the 7 criteria of life on this planet that as of now, as scientists decipher, for in astrobiology, but is there something that we are missing? In the genetic level, if you look at the nucleotides, are we similar? Is it just a 4-letter code program similar to ourselves, or is it different? You can see I'm like, it's just, I want to see besides the molecular, the chemistry of it. Who are their protein equivalent, or is that new life form have the same type of proteins? How do they metabolize? How do they rest? Because everything that we know on this planet, we eat, we sleep, we poop, and we grow, and then we die. But what we die is not like we're done, but we go back to this planet and replenish it again, right? With our own nutrients. I want to see if it's something like that. This is my scientific curiosity mind. Is like, wow, how are we so similar and how are we different, and how that difference can actually build up. That's why I love Star Trek, because Star Trek actually demonstrates our possibility as humanity and possibility as a community beyond this planet. We could do so much good.
Now, what I detected in your statement was the premise that life is already out there, and it's kind of, it's Earth is such a speck of a speck of a speck. It's hard to imagine life only exists on the Earth. And I think even earlier you said that you thought maybe life had come to Earth from someplace else.
Or the ingredients of it.
Are the ingredients?
Like ingredient transformation, yeah.
But as far as we know today, Earth is the only place where life actually exists. At what point do you think it's appropriate to say it's a responsibility to take that life and to spread it around the universe so the universe is teeming with life?
I got to think about that one. It's our responsibility to have life and basically have life all over the place. And it's just lately we've been having these discussions within the educational system, especially in STEM education, of how to incorporate all the subjects together, right? We're not in silo. Then we could think about, just because of Harry and Meghan, everybody's talking about that as well. And we talk about British, and how did the British Empire expand? How did the United States go to Puerto Rico? I want to be careful with those words. Even though we have life, it's our responsibility to move forward. And I would like to say it's okay to explore, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be ours. I want to use the word of coexist, and it's exploration, but it doesn't mean that we need to claim. Yeah, I have to find more better words, but the way you said it was like, it gave me a cautionary tale right there. I'm like, even though we should we, even though we can, it doesn't mean we should. We have to take a responsibility as we move forward, as we explore, as we learn, and hopefully give back in a positive way.
No, it's really a deep question. Probably take us thousands of years to really plumb it completely and figure out what the right balance is. But
It is. It's hard, and I know that there's these conversations going on, especially when there are more spacecrafts going to other planet and explore, and they look at everything that's going to be introduced to the planet. What will be the effects? And this is where it's beyond me. How much parts per million of the atmosphere of this planet will be affected by this. By the spacecraft landing on Mars or in Europa or wherever it may be, or even like Psyche is going to intercept an asteroid going by. There's a responsibility to say, okay, hopefully we're not going to interrupt too much and its entity essence will still remain. Because fun fact, because even when I used to do laser ablations on worms, on nematodes, right? So I had to shut off a cell to see what will happen to the other cells, if a new pathway will turn on or off, right? And this worm is genetically mutated for me, that when it has these heat shock proteins that are linked with this protein called green fluorescent protein. So any stress, it will light up green, really cute. And in order for me to make sure I'm not harming any cells, I site direct the laser, I destroy a particular, like an anchor cell, particular cells in the worm, but I can see I'm affecting other cells around because they turn green. So no matter how careful you are, just acknowledge that there will be collateral damage, and we've got to take responsibility for that. And does the end justify the means? And these are all philosophical questions that, as humans go beyond this planet, when I put my educator hat on, we have to prepare our students and say, okay, it's not just, yeah, we can look at space, yeah, how cool, like I'm floating. But when you're doing that, it's more than that. There's the humanity component. Are you harming? Are you marginalizing? Are you lifting, or are you just doing it for self-interest? And this is the new mindset as an educator that I am trying to promote, a new mindset as a scientist. When I do these outreach components, or when I have my students working with me in research, to have that in mind, social justice lens, no matter what you do, because you're not doing this in isolation. Space is so cool. I would love to be floating just for that personal achievement, but at the same time, I want to make sure that this personal achievement can move humanity forward or help my community forward.
I'd like to ask you two other versions of that tuner ear question.
Okay.
So not to put you on the spot, but what do you remember of the 1820s?
Wasn't born yet. I have a lot of things going on this in the United States.
Just anywhere.
I have to investigate. I know there was not as many freedoms. There were a lot of colonizations going on, at least in the Caribbean. The Tainos were there was a battling in the land. So that's all I know as of now.
Yeah, I don't remember anything from the 1820s. Actually, if you ask me what significant thing happened in the 1820s, I cannot tell you. But I asked that question just as a foundation to ask my real question, which
Uh-huh.
is, imagine if you live 200 years in the future, and you could take some license with your answer here since we're only a few years into the decade. But what do you think might be remembered about the 2020s?
Oh, definitely the pandemic. The social reckoning. No, because yeah, we're like thinking, definitely the pandemic, how we recovered, the social reckoning. I think those are the two like quick answers that will pop up. And masks, pandemic with the mask, fashion statements. I think that would be the major, like, if you want to say something that would probably pop up in the future if you have a trivia question. What else? It depends on where they come from. If in the United States, they may say the political turmoil. If they were from Europe, they will talk about Ukraine and Russia. If They were talking about Australia because in the early 2019, the fires. So I guess it would be depending on location. What do you think?
Well, what I hope they remember, and the reason I kind of am doing this set of interviews, is I believe that this is the decade where space really becomes open to us. You know, where
Mhm.
the idea of humans living in other parts of the solar system and actually doing things in space. I think the 2020s are to space what the 1990s were to the internet, and that we're going to see like this transformation. And so I kind of want to capture people's um, kind of anticipation and awareness and kind of their hopes and fears about this.
Thank you for catching me. Yes, it will be the opening to civilians in space. I don't know why my mind was blocked. I think that's trauma as an educator. All we had is every 4 days, and something up our nose doing a PCR test that I couldn't. Yeah, I forgot. How dare I? Yes, it is. Pandemic and access to space. You're right. You're so
And
true. Yeah.
I know the pandemic seems so much on our minds now, but I think in a few decades we'll completely forget about it.
I hope so, and I hope not at the same time. Yeah, we forget about it, like the trauma and the mask and ill and losing family and friends. But I hope we learn, lessons learned, better access to the vaccine, so vaccine equity, how to disperse it. Do we have to be as closed down as we should, or we have been closed down even further? I hope lessons are learned. Like I hope there's a lab notebook that says lessons learned and for the future and put in the corner, and that we know how to get to it if needed.
Yeah, yeah, it was really, really something else. Anyway, I'm glad we seem to be through it.
We're being okay. We're doing okay. I mean, look at our human spirit. Look at how far we have come from the onset of seeing individuals, get being ill and not having access, and then all of a sudden food insecurities, um, paying bills, and how we all rally together and lift up to our neighbors that we don't even know.
Hmm.
And then this is where I give props where props are due. Our leaders and science leaders say, okay, we got to nip this in the bud. Okay. We quantified it. We figured out who was most afflicted, who wasn't. There's a social inequity right there. Those who were getting it, had to work. So they were in the trenches further. So we have to acknowledge that, we have to have a better healthcare system, better employment rates. At the same time, we were able to disperse it everywhere. What else did we do, as a community? Vaccines became so easy eventually with the new technology, and, Dr. Kizzy Corbett, how she led the way with the Moderna vaccine, and all the other vaccines that are out there. I just know her name because that pops up in my head first. Uh, Amazing how we all rallied as a planet to make sure everybody had access. Some people didn't, and we have to address that and take responsibility of that. But hopefully, that doesn't happen again. How cool is that? And imagine if we go further from this planet onward, what else we could do?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's cool.
I think we have a great future ahead of us if we want it. That's the key part.
That's the right word, if we want it, and we need to fight for it. And I think one way is through education and demonstrating benefits of it, and also weighing out pros and cons, and have everyone have an educated decision and pursuing their bright futures.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Gonzalez, those were the questions I had for you. But I definitely want to leave it open if you had any questions or things you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to.
From your experience and hearing all the other interviews, what is the common thread amongst all the interviews you already conducted that made you go, aha, I didn't even think about that? Or this is awesome, or oh my gosh, we're heading in that direction?
Um, Okay, it's going to sound a little abstract, but I think the common thread is people are smart, but they're being asked and they're asking themselves the wrong questions. Um, and that would be the common thread.
So what are your right questions? Because I don't know what I don't know until someone showed me, hey, did you think about this?
But I feel like people are being asked mundane things like, who's your telephone carrier, and what do you think about this person getting elected, and uh, you know, these types of things. When I think the questions they really need to ask themselves is, what's their vision for a good future, and what's the path to get there, and what's their part in that path, and that's essentially my thought.
The responsibility and accountability, if you want it, there is a path and you have to do an action plan towards it. You can't say, they got to do it for me. You got to do it for yourself and inspire yourself, and then you inspire others. That's a wonderful domino effect. Thank you for sharing that. That's pretty cool. What was one scary thing?
Well, before we get to that, I did want to just touch one more thing. As you mentioned Lieutenant Hora as being like inspiration to you to get into sciences. And Star Trek for many decades had provided sort of this common vision of what inclusive exploring future looked like, technological future looked like. And even if you weren't a Trekkie, you were aware of it.
Yes.
Um, However, I feel like today we don't have anything that kind of represents that common positive future. We have a lot of dystopian futures that we all share, but I don't know of anything that's had the same cultural penetration as Star Trek did. That's kind of hopeful. And I was wondering, am I missing something? Do you see it the same way?
There it besides the Orville, I don't know, from Seth MacFarlane, he has his series that has this hopeful non-dystopic future, but a future of collaboration with not only of all different backgrounds, of all different aliens, and working for a common path, but in reality on this planet having something somewhat similar to that. I am fortunate I'm part of an organization that kind of feels that we're working towards a common good now that space is now more democratic, more accessible for all, and that's through IAS. I see that at JPL, that we see. I mean, just look at the. I mean, did you see Good Night Oppie?
I did not. I need to.
See that, or look at the Spirit and Opportunity teams, look at the Curiosity team, look at the Perseverance team, look at all the teams that are involved in space exploration and JPL, in particular, because I'm in those circles. You see that. And I could take you there as my guest. Well, it will be technically by my husband's guest, and you can actually see this flavor of Star Trek there, because it seems like, and as well, and Caltech, because it's also near each other. Because when you talk to any individual, it's like, what inspired you? You're going to hear the same words: Star Trek, Star Wars, more Star Trek because of the technical, and some of those ideas that was in the early episodes are now reality now. That's where I see the hope. But when I go in, that's my other fields. When I go into academia, teaching, we need to emulate that. And in teaching, there are some flaws of having this, again, I am biased because I love this future of collaboration of all diasporas from all affinity groups, from everything working together for a better good. But that representation is not seen as much in education compared to what I see in the science field in my circles, which is JPL, IIS, actually ESA as well. So
Yeah, it's amazing. I would love to see JPL. And if you want to come to Houston and see the Johnson Space Center, maybe we could.
I was just there just after Thanksgiving, because I was given a workshop on the Earthright solution on how to have equity in STEM education and prepare our next generation of future world changers. I was given a whole workshop on what are some of the successes and some of the strategies that can be done.
Yeah, that's amazing. I wish we could have connected. That would have been neat.
Don't worry, there's more going up in the future, so we'll keep connected. Somehow, somewhere we can make it happen.
So you asked the scariest time. It's really interesting. I have trouble going up to people generally, but going up and asking them about the moon seems particularly rough. But there's been some people that I've gone up to, and I like, there's no way this person's going to talk to me. And not only do they talk to me, but then they're thankful for it too. It's like, thank you so much for asking me my thoughts and views, and I just really touched by that. So.
And that was just a connection. You just had to ask a question, right? And that's so cool.
Yeah. But that's that. Well, Dr. Gonzalez, thank you so much again. And I hope you have a good rest of your day. And I look forward to staying in touch.
Well, same here, and enjoy the holidays.
Okay, you too. Bye for now.
Adios. Bye.